Hello students, welcome to the lecture. So students, in the previous lecture, we had started the modern history part of static GK. In this lecture, we are going to continue the same topic, okay? And we will try to learn the new things here, okay? So let's start. So in the previous lecture, we had started the Governor General of Bengal and we had covered the Warren Hastings, okay? And Cornwallis. Okay, today we are going to in this lecture basically today we are going to continue the same topic, which is the Governor General of Bengal. Okay, so thereafter we having the Sir John Shore. Sir John Shore was appointed after Cornwallis. Sir John Shore tenure saw efforts to stabilize British rule in India after the Second Anglo-Maratha War. Okay, basically what happened in the Maratha era. Okay, in the Marathas family, as I have told you, there are 5 families. In the previous lecture, I had told you this thing. Okay, so basically these 5 families are like Gaikwad. They were the rulers of Baroda. Okay, thereafter the Scindias. They were the rulers of Gwalior. Okay, thereafter the Peshwas. They were the rulers of Pune. Okay, then Bhosles. They were the rulers of Nagpur. And the last ones are Holkars. They were the ruler of Indore. Okay, so basically what happened? So this is the clan of Marathas. In the Marathas clan, when they had these 5 families, they had a conflicts within themselves. Okay, so you can say these 5 families were fighting with each other. That's why British got advantage to enter in between. Got it? Because of the tensions prevailed amongst these families, the British got the advantage to enter in between, and they occupied the large territory, and this Maratha territory was stabilized during the Sir John Shore. Got it? Now let's move forward. Now we have the Lord Wellesley. Okay, Lord Wellesley, who is well known for his expansionist policies and establishment of the subsidiary alliance system, which brought several princely states under British control. Okay, so basically he is the one who started manipulating the Indian rulers. Manipulating the Indian rulers. Got it? So that's why he introduced subsidiary alliance and expansionist policies. And how he was working, it's very important. Basically, first he started attacking the Indian territories. He started attacking the Indian territories. Okay, and when he had acquired a large number of territories, then he introduced subsidiary alliance system. And what was it? Basically, in short term, I've told you what do you mean by the subsidiary alliance. Then basically it is a surrender to British government. In the short and simple terms, if someone asks you what do you mean by subsidiary alliance, then it is a surrender to British government. However, Lord Wellesley promoted the subsidiary alliance as a friendship treaty. But in real terms, it was not. In real terms, it was just a treaty to get Indian states under the control of Britishers. So what are the norms and what are the conditions of subsidiary alliance? Let's discuss them. Okay. There are various norms in subsidiary alliance. First was give up of army. Okay. Second was area to British in lieu of maintaining forces. Third point was expansions of British forces were beard by ruler. Fourth point was British forces were stationed inside the territory. Fifth point was British will protect the kingdom from outsiders, but the ruler had to submit it to British. Sixth point was no European country can participate with the ruler without British permission. Okay, so that was the subsidiary lines. The first one was give up of the army. So the ruler who has entered into the agreement is not required to maintain his own army. He has to give up his army. The first clause was this. Second clause was this: the certain area is to be given to the Britishers in lieu of maintaining the forces. Okay, basically you can say it was a tribute which is required to paid by the ruler to the British so that British could maintain their forces. Okay. Third point was that expenses of British forces and the British soldiers were beared by the ruler. The ruler who has signed the subsidiary alliance is required to maintain the expenses occurred during maintaining of the British forces. Okay. Fourth point was that British forces were stationed inside the territory. Okay. So if this was the ruler, he signed the subsidiary alliance, then the British forces will stationed inside his territory. Okay. The fifth point was that British will protect the kingdom from outsiders, but the ruler had to submit the kingdom to the Britishers. The ruler will govern the kingdom. Okay. There is no doubt the ruler will govern the kingdom, but its external matters and its safety and security will be in hands of the Britishers. The Britishers are required to protect the kingdom from the outsiders, but the ruler has to maintain a particular tribute to the Britishers and has to give up his army, and also required to accept the British is a supreme. Okay, so that was the conditions. And the sixth one was that no European country can participate with the ruler without British permission. If this ruler want to participate with any other European countries for trade, for any other thing, then British permission is must and British permission is required. Without British permission, there could be no deal signed between the ruler and other counterparts. Okay, so that was a subsidiary alliance which was promoted as a friendship treaty. But as you can see, from no angle, it was the friendship treaty. It was simply a draft by signing which you would be under the British control. Got it? So now the question is, which state signed the subsidiary alliance? Okay, basically the first state was Hyderabad. Second was Mysore. Third was Tanjore. Fourth was Awadh. Fifth was Marathas. Sixth was Sindhyas, who were the part of Maratha family. Okay, so these were some of the states who signed the subsidiary alliance. Got it? So this is about the Lord Wellesley. Now let's move forward. Now we have the Sir George Barlow, who was again the acting Governor General of Bengal. Okay. Now the next is Lord Minto. Now we have the Lord Minto, who was the Governor General of Bengal from 1807 to 1813. And why he was important? Why? Basically, during his time period, the most important treaty, and you can see the one of the most important treaties, Treaty of Amritsar, was signed. Let me write down again. Treaty of Amritsar was signed. Okay, and the Treaty of Amritsar was signed between Lord Minto and Maharaja Ranjit Singh. Okay, who was the ruler of Punjab. Got it? So the Treaty of Amritsar was signed during Lord Minto and signed with Maharaja Ranjit Singh. As per the treaty, the east of Satluj River would be area of Sikh Empire. Got it? So you can say, as per the treaty, the east of Satluj River would be the area of Sikh Empire. Got it? And basically there was a one more person who played a significant role in signing of this treaty. And the person name was Charles Ratcliffe. Charles Ratcliffe. Okay, he was British diplomat. He was a British diplomat who persuaded Maharaja Ranjit Singh to sign the Treaty of Amritsar with Britishers, basically with Lord Minto. Okay, as per the treaty, the east of Satluj River would be the area of Sikh Empire. Got it? So this was the friendship treaty also. Because this ended the tensions between the Sikh Empire and the Britishers. Got it? Now let's move forward. Now we have Lord Mayora, later Marquis of Hastings. Okay, Lord Mayora's administration witnessed the Anglo-Nepalese War and efforts to expand the British control in India. Basically, Lord Mayora is not so significant from the examination point of view, but you can write down that his administration witnessed the Anglo-Nepalese War and efforts to expand the British control in India. Okay, now let's move forward. Now we have the Lord Amherst. Okay, basically, Lord Amherst's time period was important. Why? Because during this time, British started to invade in northeast also. Okay, so basically during Lord Amherst's time period, the British started to invade in northeast also, and they had war with Burma Kingdom, which is also known as Anglo-Burmese War. Okay, so the first Anglo-Burmese War was found during the time period of Lord Amherst. Okay, and it marks the beginning of British Empire marching towards the northeast also. Okay, And remember one point, Burma in present day is known as Myanmar. In present day, it is known as the Myanmar. Okay. And during this war, a famous treaty was signed, which is known as the famous Treaty of Yandabo was signed. Okay. The famous Treaty of Yandabo was signed during First Anglo-Burmese War. Okay. So what were the terms and conditions of this treaty? So basically you can say the area of Assam, Manipur, Arakan and Tanithai written to, or you can say basically given to Britishers. Second point, £1 million given to Britishers as loss recovery. Third point was that British were allowed to maintain presence in Burmese Kingdom. Got it? So these were the terms and conditions of the Treaty of Yandabo. The first condition was Assam, Manipur, Arakan, Tanithia areas were given to the Britishers. Okay. The second term was £1 million were given to Britishers as a loss recovery. Okay. So basically Britishers said, because you had fight with us and we had to lose many things, so we required £1 million from your side as a loss recovery. Okay. And the third point was that British representatives were allowed to maintain presence in the Burmese Kingdom. Okay. So basically the Burmese Kingdom and the Britishers had signed a deal that the British diplomats and British representatives will be there in the Burmese Kingdom. Okay. So this whole process taken place during the Lord Amherst. So just write down the facts that during the Lord Amherst, the first Anglo-Burmese War occurred, ended with Treaty of Yandabo. In the Treaty of Yandabo, there were three main points. The first point was that Assam, Manipur, Arakan, Tanithia areas were given to Britishers. Second point was that £1 million given to Britishers as loss recovery. Third point was that British representatives were allowed to maintain their presence in the Burmese Kingdom. Got it? Now let's move forward. Okay. Now we have the Lord William Bentinck. So officially, the Lord William Bentinck falls under term of Governor General of India. Officially, he is known for the Governor General of India. But he was appointed during 1828 to 1835, and we know that Charter Act of 1833 basically shifted Governor General of Bengal, which was established by the Regulating Act of 1773. Okay, with Governor General of India. Okay, which was basically established by Charter Act of 1833. So basically we could say that Lord William Bentinck was officially appointed as the Governor General of Bengal, which was converted into the Governor General of India. Okay, so William Bentinck is known for several important reforms, including the abolition of sati, the promotion of English education, and the administrative improvements. So let's discuss his facts. Okay, so now we have Lord William Bentinck. Lord William Bentinck. So basically, Lord William Bentinck is well known for several things. First is a violation of sati. But before this, remember, he is the first Governor General of India. Okay. The first Governor General of Bengal was Warren Hastings. The first Governor General of India was Lord William Bentinck. Okay. Now come to the other points. So basically, Lord William Bentinck is well known for the abolition of sati. Okay. First of all, we need to understand what do you mean by sati. Basically, in the simple terms, if I write down sati, that corrupt practice of burning a girl alive with her dead husband in name of religious traditions. Okay, so basically we could say that sati was totally a wrong practice in which a girl was meant to be burned alive with her dead husband. Okay, this was basically abolished by the William Bentinck, and for this he passes regulation of 17th. He passed it. Regulation 70 okay, and this regulation 70 was basically established in the areas of Madras and Bombay. Okay, so this regulation 70 was basically dealing with the abolition of sati, okay, which was applicable in the areas of Madras and Bombay. Got it? So here you can see the sati was a Hindu tradition where widows were expected to self-immolate on their dead husband's funeral pyre. Okay, Lord Bentinck's decision to ban sati was a landmark moment in Indian social reform. Okay, so basically his decision to ban this practice was a landmark. Got it? Now let's move forward. Now we have the promotion of English education. Basically, he appointed a commission known as Macaulay Commission. Macaulay Commission. He was the first pioneer of the Western style education in India. Okay, and he was very eager to implement this. For this, he appointed the Macaulay Commission to examine the factors and submit details to the government for further implementations. Okay. Also, he established Kolkata Medical College. Got it? Now, let's move forward. Administrative reforms. Lord Bentinck implemented several administrative reforms aimed at streamlining the British East India Company's governance of India. These reforms included changes in the revenue system, judicial system, and the civil services. So basically what he done, he changed the revenue system, the judicial system, and the civil services. Okay, one more thing which is important regarding him was abolition of Thuggy or thugs, you can say. What was that? Basically, what was happening? During his time period, the travelers were started missing. Okay, the group of travelers starting missing. Okay, and they were in the huge numbers. Thousands travelers who were traveling from one place to another were started missing. Okay, this forced the British government to look into this matter. And when they tried to find out, they find that there is a group of thugs. There is a group of thugs who were basically the robbers and the murderers. Okay, these were basically the robbers and the murderers who attempted murders of travelers and stole their belongings. Okay, so these were in the huge numbers. Thousands travelers were missing. The thugs were prevalent in these areas. Okay, so that's why he appointed Colonel Silliman. Who was responsible for the abolition of thugs. Okay, so remember, the abolition of thugs was also taking place during the Lord Williams-Bentinck, and who was appointed by him for this? Colonel Silliman. Okay, now let's move forward. Now we have the Lord Auckland. Basically, what was happening on that time? The first Anglo-Afghan war was taken place during the time of Auckland. Now remember the reason why the Britishers started to look for Afghanistan. Okay, let me tell you the story. Basically, let's suppose if this is a India, this is a Afghanistan, this is the Middle East area. Okay, so in the Middle East area, the Russian Empire was prevalent. Okay, and in the Indian region, the Britishers were there. Okay, so basically you can say the Afghanistan was a buffer zone between the Russian Empire and the British Empire. Okay, so when the Russians started approaching towards the Afghan, the Britishers had a thought that Russians would try to invade in India also. Okay, this will change the Indian dynamics which have been made by the Britishers. So that's why they started convince the Afghanistan to come on their side. Okay, basically Dost Muhammad Khan was the Afghan ruler who was very much convinced by the Britishers. Okay, but somehow the Britishers were not able to convince the rulers of Afghanistan to their side, and for this they started occupying the Afghanistan forcefully. But what happened? The Britishers were lost this battle. Okay, they were not succeed to install a puppet ruler in Afghanistan to check out the Russians and maintain the buffer zone between the Russian Empire and the British Empire. Okay, however, the war ended in a catastrophic defeat for the Britishers, with the majority of British and Indian troops, their camp followers, being killed during their retreat from Kabul. Okay, so basically you can say they started war from India to Afghanistan because they were failed to convince the Afghan ruler to establish as their puppet government. And when they reached Afghanistan, they followed a catastrophic defeat, a huge defeat, and they had to lose their most of the troops and soldiers when they were returning to India from the Kabul, which is the capital of Afghanistan. That's why Afghanistan is also known as the graveyard of great empires. Because whether it's British, okay, whether it's Russia, whether it's USA, okay, none of these great empires were able to control the Afghan territory. So that's why the Afghanistan is known as the graveyard of great empires. Okay. So students, in today's lecture, we had finished the Governor General of Bengal and we had started the Governor General of India. In the next lecture, we will continue the Governor General of India. Till then, just revise the facts so that you will be able to grasp the fact effectively. Okay. Thank you.